Kandamandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshidam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnanatimirandasya jnananjanam shalakaya chakshurmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahm, tasmai Shri Gurave. One, we will start with the question which was asked last, karma. The word karma in Sanskrit means action, activity, action, all this is karma. It comes from the principle that as you sow, so you reap, which means that if there is an effect anywhere, then there has to be a cause for it. Cause and effect. So if you think, oh, in this life, so according to the theory of karma, if you think in this life I've been a good person, I've not done anything to anybody, but I still I'm suffering. Why am I suffering? Now, we tend to look at life, only a small part of life, this life. There are many before, and if you don't free yourself, maybe many to come. So, if you think it's unreasonable that you're suffering now, because somewhere along this line of many births, you might have committed acts the result of which you are reaping now. That's it. This is karma, the theory of karma. What people forget is the most important part of the theory of karma is now. Because what you have done in the past, many of us don't even know, right? Even if we know, even if somebody knows, you cannot go back and tinker with it. You cannot go back and tinker. How can you go back and undo the things done? You can't. And in future, what you are going to do, you don't know. Now, you know, right? So this is the crux of the theory of karma. Now, not, oh, I did like that preparation, so what are they? This period which is given to you, which you know, living in a way that in future you will be safe and not suffering, is the most important part of working on the theory of karma. Now, because today if I change my life, I will not be sowing the seeds that grow into a tree causing trouble in the next life, if you believe in different lives. This is karma. The other meaning of the word karma is karma yoga, is the answer to life is not to do anything and sit down, because it's not possible ever. Even if you don't do anything at night, your mind, your circulation is still working, your heart is working, all the organs of your body work even while you sleep. So action is part of life. You cannot stop action. People say, I have retired, but they're still working, something or the other. It could be charitable work. It's a nature. You can't sit down quietly. It's not possible. Or people say, now I'm free because my children are all become big and they're married and on who? Do you really think so? No. Ask the grandparents. I'm a grandfather myself. It never ends. This world's bondage. It's always there. So, karma yoga means to do your karma without allowing the effects of the karma to affect you. There is a wrong interpretation sometimes that you should do your work and not worry about the fruits. This is not possible. Any work that you do, you need to think of the goal and the fruits. You can't do without that. How will you work? What is being said is that if things are okay, fine. If things are not okay, don't fall into depression. They will straighten themselves. So, if things go wrong, don't think, oh, now I've worked so hard. Why? Because all people who have succeeded in life in any field, including the spiritual, are those who have not allowed the temporary failures to affect them, but have therefore carefully examined themselves to see where the mistake is and how to correct it so that you can move forward. This is the meaning, because otherwise we spent years worrying about what happened and why. Instead of that, say, okay, what has happened? You can do nothing. Shall we move forward? This is the way our karma yogi lives on this earth. Meanwhile, if you have understood some way to reach your inner self, then the comfort of understanding your inner self, that stays with you and keeps you protected, and whatever happens, you kind of remain in the same. You don't get either too depressed or too excited. This is karma and karma yoga. Meaning of the word karma basically is, if there is an effect, there is a cause somewhere, if not now, if you can't find it now. Right? Okay. Now we are going to how and why. Yesterday did I mention? No. The last sentence in every chapter of the Gita, did I mention it to you the day before? Yoga Shastra. So why method is required for most people to cleanse your system and open your mind and free it from conditioning. Most people. There have been what you call prodigies who from childhood have had no need of these. I hope that nadi also opens. Now, why are you having that very satisfied smile? So, there may be people who from their youth, from very childhood, prodigies, who have not practiced anything and have attained. Okay, agreed. But everybody is not on that line, so we have a standard pattern to follow. The other is, there are great devotees who have just touched the divine without going through any of this. Everybody need not imagine that we are so advanced. There have been great yogis who have said, okay, I am not this body, therefore let me find who I am. Not easy, because we say I am not the body, but at the slightest problem we are in trouble, agitated. So all this we can imagine, but it's not easy. So therefore for an average person, like you and me, we need to find out some kind of way by which the mind can be opened up, the nadis can be cleared, and we can move forward. Therefore, do not imitate the great teachers. Follow the instructions. Do not imitate. By imitation you will go nowhere. Because if someone has attained a high level of spiritual understanding, their actions sometimes may sound or look to you like, oh, this is Not there, but then they're doing, so I can also do it. Don't do that. Before going into the next, I'll tell you a story, because now with the AC on, you might enjoy it. The master was once going for a walk with his disciples. So, he was just passing through. Not many disciples. He was a good master, so he had only 6 or 7 disciples. Going for a walk. And then, on one side, there was a tavern. You know what's a tavern? What is a tavern? No. No? Yeah. A tavern is where wine is sold, or where you can drink the wine, not sold. So he was going across the road and near the tavern, and the owner of the tavern knew that this is a great spiritual person coming, so he was standing outside like that. But he was 100% sure that he is not going to step into my place. There's nothing here he is interested in. Suddenly the master turned to the man and said, "Hey, why aren't you inviting me inside?" So he said, "Please come, master, I didn't know you would come." He said, "Yes, you didn't invite me." So we went inside. Of course the disciples followed. Everybody sat down. So the master asked the owner, "What have you got to offer me?" And this guy was at a loss. He said, "There is nothing except wine here." Then the master said, "Okay, give it to me." So he was overjoyed, but he was wondering how his luck changed. This man is asking for wine. So he went and got a nice wine glass, specially cleaned it. And then brought it and kept it there, poured the wine, and the master took the glass and drank the wine. And the disciples were sitting in the back. They said, "Wow, this is a new thing, new practice. The master is doing, so we should be doing too." So everybody got the wine. The master drank 1 glass, they drank 6. But anyway, after drinking, they walked out. Well, the master walked out, and the others swam out, or rather snaked themselves out like a snake. In Kerala they have a saying in Malayalam, "Adichi Pambai," means drank and became a snake. So you can't move straight, you see. So they came out, and then they were walking, weaving their way through. The master was the only one who was walking straight. Then they came to in front of a foundry. You know what's a foundry? A place where metal is melted and put into molds to make things, objects. So the master turned and looked at the owner of the shop and said, "Why are you not inviting me?" He said, "Dear master, please come." We took him inside, made them all sit on little benches and whatever was there. Disciples were also there. And the master asked him the most unusual question for him. "What have you got to offer me?" He said, "There is nothing to offer you." So he said, "All I have is melted metal, molten metal." The master said, "Give me some." So got a crucible and poured some molten lead, and the master drank it. And he told, "You can also drink if you like." Can you do that? No, you can't do that. So the moral of the story is don't imitate. Do what you can, the best way you can, at your own level. Don't overdo, don't imitate. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had an he called it the monkey's vairagya, which means the monkey's detachment. Like you fail for exams and so you run away to Banaras or the Himalayas. And after 3 months you write a letter, I don't have any money, please send me a money order. So do only what you can do, don't overdo things, don't imitate. Okay. So now to the practice. Why are we supposed to practice techniques if you are not already great sages and yogis? You need to work. There should be a path. It can be any path, devotional path or yogic path or the Vedantic path. But even any you follow, I would suggest that it is a good idea to practice some technique which is systematic, which can take you far in any path that you choose. If somebody is interested in Vedanta, I'm not going to tell them don't do Vedanta, do only. If somebody is a very devotional person who loves to do devotional practices, I'm not the one to say don't do that, do your Kriya. No. Don't change all that. Do your Kriya. So what is the theory of Kriya? We believe, or rather we know, that in the human body there are innumerable channels called nadis. They're called nadis, through which the life energy called prana moves for all of us, of which the 3 most important nadis are what we call the Ida, the Pingala and the Sushumna. The Ida nadi is that which is on the left, the Pingala is on the right, and the Sushumna is in the center. So the location is actually the Ida nadi starts on the right side of the brain inside. It crosses here and then goes down to the left and goes to the bottom of the spine. The Pingala nadi starts here, crosses, goes down to the right and meets at the bottom at the Mooladhara, at the end of the spine. Sushumna is the one that is straight from the bottom of the spine straight up to the Sahasrara. This is the Sushumna. So for all purposes in life, including even the study of quantum physics, it's enough if your prana moves through either the Ida or the Pingala. It's also something to do with the left brain and the right brain. And I'm working on this theory now, that maybe through altering the breath you can alter the working of the left and right brain. We know it, but we need to people want experiments, right? So this is the Ida and the Pingala. Now if you need to take your mind beyond the ordinary, which means out of the 3-dimensional world into other unknown dimensions, we know only the 3-dimensional world right now. Even our projection of another dimension is based on only our experience of the 3-dimensional world. So, if you need to do that, then the prana has to be brought from the Ida and the Pingala into the Sushumna, the central channel. And as it moves along the central channel, your mind opens up to higher realms, higher dimensions, until you reach the ultimate, when it reaches. This prana that moves through the central channel is also called mukhya prana, the most important prana. It's also called Shakti, the energy. If you don't mind, the most bandied about word, the Kundalini, which if you go to internet, you can awaken in 6 minutes for $2,000. We are all fools who work so hard. So anyway, this is the principle. Now what happens when your awareness is lifted from the three-dimensional to the other dimensions, higher dimensions, which are beyond the capacity even of the three-dimensional mind to understand? But the mind tends to remain caught by these three dimensions, length, breadth, height, depth, whatever you want to call it. Now, tomorrow you are going to do chakra dharana, so I better go into this now. Our understanding, now if you ask me, is there an anatomical equivalent of what you described? I would say yes, but the energies are psychic, they are subtle. Energies are not physical, but if you look at Gray's anatomy, slightly different from our anatomy, yogic anatomy. It's a standard textbook for medical students. You will find that there is a brain, of course, hopefully, and from the brain is a spinal cord coming down till the end of the spine, and on both sides there is the parasympathetic nervous system, the left and the right on both sides, which is almost parallel to what we call Ida Pingala. Because Ida and Pingala are not physical, but this is the physical counterpart. Look, if you have a wire, what is passing through it is not physical, it's electricity. But the wire is physical in the same way. So there is this parasympathetic chain which also consists of the vagus nerve and various things that control your heart, your lungs, and so on and so forth. Since the Ida and Pingala crisscross here, not outside but inside, for this location, this is the Ajna center, which is very important for us also. And for us yogis, this is Varanasi, because we consider the Ida to be the Varuna river and the Pingala to be the Asi river. So where the Varuna and Asi cross is Varanasi, right? So we have it all in our system. So at the bottom of the spine, which we called just now the Muladhara, which I call the Muladhara, that is the center where mostly our mind is involved in. The Muladhara, if you translate it, means root foundation. This is where most of mind is mostly involved in average person's mind, because it is the center of all physical elements. According to the yogic chart, that's the center of Prakriti, Prithvi, the earth. Prithvi is the earth, which means physical matter, gross, with its three dimensions, a cube or a square, right? This is the world we know of, the earth. And it's also the center of what, for a human being, after food and shelter, which is necessary of course, is the greatest enjoyment, sex. That's also the center, the Muladhara. So the yogic theory, the Tantra theory, please don't, Tantra is a bad name, so I'm talking about Tantra in reality, not all those orgies and the cremation grounds. according to the tantric theory, the energy called Parashakti, the supreme energy, after having done its work through enjoyment, through human enjoyment, of forming a new human being, the baby, after having done its work, it goes and rests at the bottom of the spine in the Muladhara, still not exhausted. This is the energy which is called Parashakti, Bhavani, Bhadrakali in its ferocious aspects, Shanta Durga in its quiet aspect, and so on and so forth. This is the creative energy. This is that which creates physically. For the yogi then, it creates in the subtle ways, if you can know how to handle this. And this energy rests there, in potential, not kinetic, at rest, but still full of energy. It's Purnat Purnam Uchyate, Purnasya Purnameva Avashishyate. It remains always Purna, complete, but asleep. And it is the center of the earth, Prithvi, the three-dimensional world. Now, what you are attempting to do is to raise the awareness of your mind from that to the slightly subtler center, which comes between the navel and the Muladhara, halfway through, which is called the Swadhisthana. Swadhisthana is the center on the Sushumna, on the spine, which is the center of imagination. Anything connected with the moon, cool. Even imagination is linked to the moon, right? People who are imaginative become very imaginative on a full moon, when there is a full moon. So Luna, you know what happens when it goes wonky? Luna. So the center of imagination, the center of creativity, the center where from the yogi leaves his body and moves around in his subtle body, all this is the Swadhisthana. Now the lowest, I'm saying this, tomorrow when you do Kriya, you will do chakra dharana. This is, you need to get a basis of what you do. So the lowest center, which is a symbol of a square and which is golden yellow in color, is the solid gross earth consciousness, earth awareness. The next one, the Swadhisthana, which is represented by a crescent moon. You see the crescent moon, when you draw Shiva, you usually have it here. The Soma Shekhara. It's also, the moon is also called Soma. That which when imbibed, your imagination goes out of all boundaries. So this is the Swadhisthana. And the principle at the bottom chakra is the earth, solid. Therefore, the next subtler center is liquid. Your awareness is getting more and more subtle. So this is liquid. Now liquid, apas, in yogic terms, apa means water. You know, solid, if you need to take it from here and if you need to change its location, you need to lift it and put it there. Water, just hit and it will go. So, which means the mind is going from gross awareness to subtler awareness. The description in the Tantras says, when you have mastered this center, is jalamadheshu majjanam. That means people think it means walking on water. It means allowing the mind to move like water, not get stuck in one place like a solid. And then the next higher center of awareness is just above the navel. If you draw a circle, the diameter touches the navel, small circle. This is called the Manipura. Manipura means the center where the jewel is sitting. Manipura, means a village or a place. So this is Manipura. And the tattva, the principle here it was solid, liquid, the principle here is fire. From ancient times, fire was so important. All the worship was either the fire or Indra, the lord of the senses. So fire, you can't do any havan without a fire. Fire is a symbol of spirit, of purification, of moving upwards. Even physically, you light a fire, you hold anything, even a candle, you can keep it this way and light it, but the fire will always go upwards. It's a beautiful symbol of the spirit. It's also combustion, heat. Tap. It's that heat. It's not only just physical fire, it's the inner fire, which in the Katha Upanishad, the Lord of Death calls the fire of Nachiketas, to celebrate Nachiketas' understanding of it. This is the fire of desire too. When somebody is fully involved in something, what do we use? What expression do we use? Fired by enthusiasm, fired by the zeal. Nobody says he's fired, he's watered with zeal. It's fire. So fire is desire. Fire is also the digestive fire that digests your food. It's also the fire that awakens desire in us. It's also the fire that takes you to higher levels of desires, the subtler ones. And it burns down everything to ashes. Right? And from one fire you can light 1,000 fires without diminishing it. It's one of the most powerful things that we know of. It's also the Greek, the Latin word for fire is igni, I-G-N-E. It's that word from which the word ignition comes from. You can't even run your car without an ignition switch. Ignite. My mind was ignited by this idea. When it is ignited, it burns off all that is unnecessary. It's only the fire. Right? It's also a great symbol of desire. Even ordinary desire. If I find my old girlfriend anywhere here, I would say my old flame. I don't say my old water, right? That which ignites desire. So, this is the great fire which was worshipped for centuries. And when you need to light a fire, you need to have fuel. And then what you offer into the fire is turned into the spirit. So this is the center of the Manipura. So your consciousness, your awareness ascends from the lower to the higher, so then it comes to this. Here, it's still purified and turned into, what is the next level if water is heated, for instance? Air, vapor. So this is the center, the anahat here, where your awareness becomes subtler and is in the level of Vayu. It's called Vayu. So you have Prithvi, Apas, Agni and Vayu, the wind, the air, the gaseous state. And from here, when you go to this center, which I am showing here, but it's actually on the Sushumna, it's called the Vishuddhi. So there your mind has ascended to a still subtler level, which is the level of Akasha. When you say Akasha, normally you call the sky as Akasha. It's not Akasha. Akasha, that's because you see it as empty, there's nothing there. Akasha is the word which is used in Sankhya to describe the primordial state of matter before it differentiated into different things, into different elements. I would say it's like as if there was one frequency, and from there different frequencies were built, and different metals, different elements have come. So the primordial substance is Akasha, and that is represented in the spine. This is something very interesting. As above, so below. Whatever is there in the macrocosm is there in the microcosm. So the yogi who controls and understands the microcosm, therefore may control the macrocosm in some way, linked to the macrocosm. The macrocosm is the larger picture, microcosm is the small world here, with all its inner planets, 7 centers and so on. Right. Now, from there, the next center is the Ajna, which is between the eyebrows, but actually deep inside. If you draw a line from here, straight, where they meet is the Ajna. That of course is the center where a very important gland which controls our sleep cycle is normally the sleep cycle called the pineal gland. It's interesting that till 80 years ago, the pineal gland was considered like a vestige organ, like the vermiform appendix, useless waste, nobody knows why it's there. It gets inflamed, you cut it and throw it off. Here you can't do that easily. So they left it there, saying it's a vestige organ, who cares? Interesting thing is, it's made up of a very similar material which is also in your optical apparatus. But obviously you can't see with it because we are seeing with our eyes. Although in Mexico there are some lizards which have their pineal gland eye open. Ours is closed. Too much of using these eyes. So anyway, so here is it is there. Until 80 years ago, as I said, they thought it was a useless organ. And then they discovered that it's a very important organ that controls your sleep cycle. We all have what is called a circadian rhythm, sleep-wake rhythm. The pineal gland controls that. We make everything dark and the pineal gland injects a little bit of melatonin into your bloodstream. You are fast asleep. What happens in a jet lag? Suddenly it goes out of control. Days become night and night has become day, so pituitary begins to behave in a strange way. So the solution is to eat a melatonin pill for a couple of days, or learn how to control it with your mind. I travel a lot. Everybody asks me, how long are you jet lagged? Maybe quarter of a day or 2 hours, after that is okay. So now, as we discussed Turiya and Sushupti in the morning, yeah, we did. So don't you see that there is a very narrow difference between Sushupti and Turiya? In Sushupti, if there is awareness, it is Turiya. If not, then it is Sushupti. There's a very thread thin difference between the two. Now the question is, if the pineal gland has to do with sleep cycles, we are saying it has also to do with Turiya. Very close. So, when the awareness is brought here, then you have come to a dimension which cannot be physically measured or described. Then the Sahasrara, which is the 1,000-petaled lotus, when this energy or this awareness is made to reach here, then it has merged back from the source from which it came in the first place. This is Samadhi. Samyama. In that state, a yogi has broken free from all limitations and is swimming in the ocean of happiness, of joy and bliss, and has removed his mind from the conditioning of time and space and so on and so forth. So it's a process. So this is what we are going to do with Kriya. First, the movement of this energy, also our awareness, on the Sushumna is not easy because for years it has been blocked. It's blocked also, some of the blocks are carried over from the past, some are carried over from the past in this life, or our traumas and experiences and everything that we have. And also the habits that we have developed which can block the Sushumna, negative habits, wrong food, wrong drink, wrong, So the first part of Kriya is to clean the nadi, clean the Sushumna, so that when the energy begins to ascend, there are no blocks. Before you clean it, if the energy ascends, we are in trouble. So, this is the first part of Kriya. Then the next part of Kriya is to take your awareness from the bottom to the top, and therefore allow the energy to go into subtler realms till you understand the fullness of this whole thing, that you are not limited to this body but beyond. If you think the statement I just made, that you are not limited to this body but much beyond, sounds funny, then I want to tell you something about a neuroanatomist, a lady who had a peculiar experience. She was not a yogi. Now she became a yogi. She's a neuroanatomist from the United States, somewhere, I don't know exactly where. Well, I'm trying to, when I go to Texas this time, to our center in the US, I've invited her for a Zoom meeting, for a discussion. She lives far away, I don't have time to go, but she's agreed to have a discussion. She's asking for the subjects, I said, we'll work it out. This neuroanatomist had a weird experience because suddenly there was a hemorrhage in her brain. A main blood vessel erupted inside, hemorrhaged, and blood started filling up the left part of her brain. So what happened, just before she fell into a coma, she had the smartness to ring up. The numbers were fast disappearing, but she managed to ring up the medical emergency. So they came in time and took her away. And she became okay after a while. But what happened was, in this interim period, when And she was totally paralyzed, sitting in the armchair. Something very peculiar happened. Her left side of the brain stopped working because it was filled with this blood, paralyzed. Now there only the right brain was working. And she had a very strange sensation and understanding. Her ideas of space had disappeared. Space and limitation. You see, normally when I am sitting here or you are sitting there, you think I think I am limited to the space where I am sitting, right? I am over when it comes to the fingertips. And when I end this, I am over. There's something else now, rug, this, that. This lady whose name is Jill Bolte suddenly discovered that all these ideas she had about her space limitations vanished. She was here, there and everywhere. It was like a Vedantic experience for her. She was not a yogi then, at that time. Now she is, because she has understood this in some strange way. Who knows what her past karma is. And she found that the plants which were moving with the wind in front of her, there was no difference between that plant and herself. She was moving with the wind. The bird chirping on the tree, she herself was chirping from there. The idea that she was confined to this conditioned measurements was gone. She broke free from it. Right? So there are possibilities. I am not saying we should all have a stroke. Kriya is not meant to bring about a stroke. There are other ways of making this happen. And then she wrote a beautiful book. I think you should read it if you get a chance. It's called My Stroke of Insight. Jill Bolte. So, and then afterwards, recently she wrote a new book called Whole Brain Living. I haven't finished reading. I just started, it was a little boring. So the yogi experiences without a stroke. So you are no more confined to this little cage. This is a cage. In the Sushumna, the energy moves in the Sushumna and comes to the Sahasrara. You are free of this cage, these limitations. I only told you this story to say that this is a possibility even, biologically, physically. What we do is to balance the Ida and the Pingala and make the energy and your awareness move through the Sushumna. Now each center has its own peculiar characteristics and traits as the yogi moves up from one's lower awareness to higher awareness. And therefore each one has a sound. Let's prepare this for tomorrow when you do chakra dharana. The center at the bottom, I said, is a square, yellow golden square. As you visualize, this is what you should be doing. And it has a sound to activate it. And the sound is lam. We'll do it tomorrow, but I'm just laying the base, the form. Lam. It's as if when you chant the sound lam, it's a bijakshara, then it is activated. It has a sensor that picks it up. The next one is vam. The third one is ram. Not old monk, ram. And then the central one here is yam, not m, yam. And here is hum. And this is om, and this is also om. These are the centers. So when you do chakra dharana, You will be fixing your attention on these centers and chanting this sound. Activate and move forward. So this is why we practice Kriya. Kriya is to gather the prana which is moving through the different centers, bring it first from the Ida and the Pingala to the bottom of the spine, which is the Muladhara, and then from there to lift the prana up, and along with the Mukhya prana goes the energy that sits there quietly, awakened now. And as she goes up, that energy is the she. So please treat carefully. Don't push too much. You know what I mean? The Sri Vidya Upasana, she is worshipped as the Devi sitting in the Muladhara. And this Devi goes up and then she unites with Shiva, her Lord who sits on the head. This is the imagery of Tantra, in the form of a linga. Then she coils around it and they merge and become one. And that ecstasy, that intoxicating ecstasy, is what Shankara described in this text called the Saundarya Lahari. I mean, the intoxicating beauty. So the yogi also becomes creative, not physically creative. And the dimensions change completely. You're no longer confined to one small location. It flows. So we need to begin the Kriya tomorrow with Yama, Niyama, and then the posture, some postures, few. Then go on to the Kriya Pranayam, and then to Chakra Dharana. And then day after tomorrow walk out of here like yogis or yoginis. This is it. Now, there was a time when all that I spoke to you now was done very secretly. It was kept like a secret. You can't discuss it. Times have changed. We need to move forward now. I think human beings are now ready to look at it and move forward. A new age. So I hope it registers, especially to the young. Many, many multi-dimensions where you can move, even without the help of Aushadha. Any questions? Now when I say renunciation, sometimes you can renounce outside physically many things, but the mind is still caught up with them. Now that does not amount to real renunciation. On the other hand, we can, I think, through the practice of meditation and yoga, live in the midst of all these temptations and still be free of it. Not easy, I agree with you. But it's better than giving up everything outside and then not knowing what to do now because the desires are still present in the mind. So, make your greatest desire the enjoyment of the inner. Substitute desire with desire. There's no harm in that desire. That is also karma, the act. But then you're doing it to ultimately be free of all karma. So you need some enjoyment to substitute from the enjoyment that the mind seeks, which is quite natural. And therefore the inner enjoyment is brought about through the practice of sadhana.
Yeah, my understanding is that yoga is an empowerment.
Yes.
So it can actually go sideways.
You have to be careful. You have to be careful about that. Say, I'm not doing it to walk on water or fly in the sky, but doing it to go beyond my conditioning and experience the reality. It helps to have short periods of solitude where you're free of all the usual paraphernalia that surrounds you. But it's not such a joke to be totally free of desire. Even if you give up outside, you may change your robes. Yeah, there is one advantage in changing your robes, which is people generally who trouble you won't come and trouble you. I don't wear any such robes, I'm normal. But what happens sometimes when you're traveling, for instance, somebody might get too friendly with you, not knowing that this guy is not. And then they will have a nice serious talk and say, "So, sir, shall we have a beer? I'm not interested." You know what I mean? But then if you wear a robe, nobody will even dare ask you this. That is there, I agree with you. And then you live in an environment where nobody will trouble you and so on. But my understanding is very few sannyasins can live like that. So it's better to live in this world and move forward. So once you're caught in that, somebody said, some yogi, a Sufi once said, get up from the school of intellect, come to me, I'm the owner of the tavern, I will give you that wine which when you drink, everything is over. So when you begin to enjoy that wine, we are all drunkards in a way. Then you're not caught by anything small that can catch you.
I see. What about the shadow? What about all the things that we accumulated in the past and it's suppressed because of social norms, familial norms as well? But it builds up and it becomes powerful. I can feel that within myself.
This is where you need a technique. This is where you need something to sublimate it and dissolve it. So this is the practice, sadhana.
Okay, thank you.
Or you should be totally soaked in devotion, for instance. This is also possible. Good question. You know why? The Shakti that you seek is inside you, not outside. Except that it gets more manifested when you are in certain conditions. But it's in you. So when you reach the root from where it comes and discover that it is you, then you don't have to do anything, it's there with you. Otherwise you are dependent, which is okay, good, because at least you know it is there. And when you sit with somebody for whom something has happened which is different, you feel. Then you go to a place where there is always a manifestation of that energy. There are such locations. And then you feel. But then when you come out, it's back to square one. Not exactly square one, but square two, let's say. Some traces will be left. So, gradually through understanding, practice, persistence and patience, you come to this, that this source is within me. There is nowhere else to go. It's me. Then where will it go? Wherever you go, it's with you, right? So, in the beginning it happens. Even I have gone through this. In the beginning, when I was sitting with Maheshwarnath Babaji, everything is hunky-dory. Fine, beautiful, wonderful. Then he goes off. Or he made sure that I learned to be independent. So when I got too dependent on him, he always said, get out. Where? Just go. Be on your own. Come back after a while. He didn't even say come back, I used to go back. So, I passed through, I understand your difficulty. Persist, be patient. There's no way out.
Guruji, are there some practical day-to-day tips we can do to make sure that
avoid circumstances which may take you off from it. And spend longer periods of solitude. Longer periods of solitude where you can contemplate on these thoughts and remain immersed, chant your mantras, bring it about. You know what? I think first we have to heal ourselves. The old saying, physician, heal thyself. We should heal ourselves first before we attempt any other healing outside. Because it's quite possible that the person you're trying to heal may become okay and you may get sick. See, I'm not discouraging you, I'm just saying. So first heal yourself and understand yourself in its complete wholeness. Then healing is no more a practice. It happens when somebody is close to you or somebody is with you. It happens in a natural way. I would prefer that kind of attitude. I think they switched it off like the United Nations.
So is it okay to practice? So I've learned Reiki, so I do Reiki practice on myself. Because I've gone through few issues and doctors, the only thing they go is surgery and all, and with all these modalities I've helped. So is it okay to practice Reiki and Kriya?
That's okay. That is not a problem. But please remember that all the Reiki and pranic healing and everything that we do, we be practical, because there are some situations which can be taken care of only in the ICU. Please remember this, in the ICU. So the only danger is that somebody might be thinking that one is cured and the disease inside might be sitting and becoming worse. And then you need to rush to the ICU. So keep this in mind. Whenever you do anything like that, keep checking the physical, the symptoms and things like that to make sure that it's actually being healed. Because sometimes if you believe it is healed, you may be free from the symptoms, but the disease may still be sitting inside. And then you think you're healed and it is becoming worse, and then you go to the ICU, then they say, now cut. So be practical, this is what I'm trying. Yeah. So this is okay. I think I have to say the same thing. If you're having that experience, if people have tried for years and if it's happening so fast for you, you must be an advanced soul. Now, if you are an advanced soul and if you have reached the height of experience and understood it, then you will not have any doubts. Because with true self-realization comes certainty. The moment you are uncertain, that means it is not very profound. Probably some experience which you get, a psychic experience. There are two ways of doing it. Either shelve it totally for some time. Don't do anything and see what happens. I'm giving you a practical suggestion. Either stop all sadhana and just carry on with life and see what is happening. Or if you start one sadhana and you stick to it, no matter what happens, without being frightened by it, perhaps there is a chance that you may move forward. Do you light a lamp at home? Do you have a puja room or something? You do. So just do that simple things and carry on for some time. And tomorrow, if you really feel like it, you take the Kriya. But if you take it, and if something like this happens, don't be frightened. Stay on. What happened? You said you did something. Then something happened, then you went and did Shakti part. Then something happened. So don't keep changing like that. Stay. No matter what happens. Believe me, nothing is going to happen. You're fine. There's no need to wonder if you would be certified. There's nothing like that. Don't worry. Your past has played a part in this. You don't have to know any of this. There is no way you can find out. So take this life as it is and do your spiritual practices and allow your mind to expand. When it expands, you will probably know about your past. Not now, before that it is hard to figure out what your past. But that you have a propensity to come to satsangs and sit down and listen and try to imbibe something shows that there is something happening in your past. How many people are there in the world? How many people are here? 300? Yeah, so why is it that everybody doesn't want to come? So there is something that drives you, right? So which means something has been there in the past which is moving you forward. No, you don't, generally. See, these two are different. In waking state, okay, you dream that you are in some other place or doing something else or you are somebody else in the dream. When you wake up, you remember that you are Jack, okay? But then when you go back into the dream, you may be somebody else the next day. But when you come back, you are still Jack. This is the major difference between waking and dream. In waking, it's also a state. There is a continuity. In the dream, there is no continuity. Right? So, that has nothing to do with what I said about the subtle body. The subtle body, which every human being possesses, everybody travels out at night, but you have no memories of it. The yogi develops his mind to an extent where he can remember this movement. Therefore he remembers or she remembers. Other people also do that at night or when you go to sleep, but you don't remember anything about it. Some of the mixed experiences you have at that time, they mix up with your subconscious mind and appear as dreams. There's a solution for this, which is when you go to sleep and when you wake up in the morning, immediately, because in 1 hour it will all get wiped out generally, take a notebook and note down what you saw. Last, collect a notebook like that for a month and see if there is a consistency in it. Then you might be able to hook on to something, what's going on. 1 hour is maximum, after that it just goes off. I don't know what to say, I'm sorry, but try your best to get as much time as possible. I know that you said I'm a married man. Well, at that time I was not married. I was alone, so I could do what I want. Now even after this so many years, if I'm with my wife, I may not be able to meditate for very long. Not because of anything, but because of her request to do certain things and so on. So it's quite normal, it's quite okay, no harm. Try to get as much time as possible. See, all that these hours of meditation that you have to do, has all been done by me. So now you do whatever time you get, and you will get the same results. I work for you. I thought the last question was over. Okay. The Lord's Prayer in the Bible, the prayer is, when thou prayest, go into thy closet. When thou have shut thy door, pray in secret, and you shall be rewarded openly. This is how it goes. And it says, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, lead us not unto temptation, but before that, forgive our debts, not sins, forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not unto temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the glory forever. This is the prayer. Amen. Now I know why Babaji made me go through all this. Studying. I said, why are you making me read it? So, the thing is that it's a simple prayer which says, please, every human being needs food to eat. It's not breath, it is bread. Food. Bread is a representation of food. So give us this day. There are many thousands of people even today who don't get the daily bread. So it's a thanksgiving saying that, please give me my daily bread. I'm not even thinking of tomorrow, today. So, and deliver us from evil, which means let me not stray away from the path of goodness. Forgive your debts as we forgive debtors. Now this can be said by a person who will forgive your debtors. You can't say, forgive my debts as I do forgive my debtors, when every day you call up the person and say, hey, what about that money I gave you, bring it back. You can't. So it's a way to reform the human being and make the human being better. And lead us not unto temptation. Now this temptation, meaning that anything that takes you away from the path of righteousness is temptation. And it's a valid prayer because lead us not, doesn't mean that God is leading you into temptation. It means, please make sure that I don't get into this temptation. That's what it means. So it's a good prayer that I don't know how you link it with Gayatri. You chant the Gayatri, then you
because they are brought up here, I wanted them to take a good.
Okay. So where did you learn the Gayatri?
Just I listened. I didn't get any guru induction or anything. Sometimes I just say the English meaning of it. Like
So how do you chant the Gayatri?
I mean, you want me to chant it?
Yeah, you said the Lord's Prayer.
I just say the English translation. When I have time, I say properly 3 times the Sanskrit version of it. Do you want me to recite?
Mm-hmm. Anyway, this is the last question. We have spent so much time. I just want to hear.
Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Om Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat.
May I correct you a little bit? Keep the R sound silent in the first line. Om Bhu Bhuva Swa. Om Bhu Bhuva Swa. Not Swaha. Om Bhu Bhuva Swa. Don't add another Om before Tat. Om Bhu Bhuva Swa. Tat Saviturvarenyam. No Om there. This is traditionally the Gayatri. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Take out that Om before Tat and don't stress on the R, Bhur. Om Bhur Bhuvaswa, that is kind of half. Okay, good. See, the Gayatri is chanted like this. Om Bhu Bhuvaswa Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. That's all. You heard it too now. You chanted like that.
But Swamiji, we don't have to have an induction. Everybody can do it, isn't it? There's nothing wrong.
If you ask the ultra-orthodox, they will be horrified that a woman is chanting Gayatri. Well, I think you should. Times have changed. We need to change these things. As we want people to be free and to change their outer modes of living in the same way. This thing about Gayatri should be changed. It's time to do that. If you Swami Vivekananda was a champion of this. He said everybody should chant the Gayatri. And somebody asked him, but then he said, look, go to the Valmiki Ramayana. Lakshmana wants to talk to Sita about something, sister-in-law. And Rama says to him, this is not the time that you can talk to her because she is doing her Sandhya Vandana. Who does Sandhya Vandana without chanting Gayatri? So I think somewhere along the line they decided that women shouldn't chant the Gayatri because then who will look after the kitchen? I think we need to change it now. Nari Shakti is a very important thing in our tradition from the beginning. Earth itself is considered to be Nari. Mother, Vande Mataram. Right? So there we go. Okay, for the time being, okay.